Well, I was looking at this yesterday in preparation for the interview, and I asked to check the guidance. And my first point would be to follow the guidance very, very carefully. The guidance is very good. There's a lot of detail in there, and there's kind of two steps to it. One is your eligibility. You have to get over that first hurdle. So make sure that you're ticking every single box on the eligibility. But then once you've done that, because it is a one-stage process, once you've done that, then looking at the project, your proposed project itself, again, there's very good guidance. But speaking from my own experience of where projects perhaps, well, which projects do really well and which projects don't do so well, there are a few key points. I guess one is to absolutely be clear about what your research question is. This sounds like the simplest thing in the world, but it's quite surprising how many people they know what their topic is. Perhaps they know what the clinical or the healthcare or social care problem is, but moving from there to a question that you can answer within your own proposed project is not an easy thing. So the research question needs to be very clear, and it needs to be one that is fundable, that is relevant and needs answering to inform care in Wales and beyond Wales. So that's the first thing, is get your research question really clear. You then will have, that might be an aim or it might be a research question, but it's the overall purpose of your proposed project. Then within that, you may have sub-questions or objectives. And those objectives need to fit within your aim and answer the whole aim. There must be no part of your aim that's not answered, and there must be no part in your objectives that doesn't fit within your aim. So it's a bit formulaic, really, but you have to be really hard on yourself to make sure that those things are clear, that the problem is important enough that the funder, in this case, Healthcare Research Wales, would wish to put their money into it. So another tip I'd say is all the way through writing your project description is write very clearly, have a very clear narrative, explain things clearly. You can use technical language, sure, and you'll be expected to, but don't use technical language at the expense of being really straightforward and clear about what you're trying to do. So be really clear. Have your sort of story, it's like writing a paper in a way, have your story really clear, explain it really clearly, use all the space you've got, don't repeat things. Make sure that you've summarized it really clearly in the abstract and the plain English summary. Get help from other researchers, or even better, service users or patients or the public, to write that plain English summary. And then there's, of course, lots of details about your methodology and your sample size and your PPI involvement. But this is following then making sure that you cover all of the aspects in the guidance. Not every single part of the guidance will apply to every single project. So if you're proposing a randomized controlled trial, you will need to have different sections to if you're proposing a qualitative piece of work or a systematic review. Make sure, my top thing here is refer to the guidance, and at the beginning and the end. So I think it's very easy when you're developing your proposal to kind of fall away from the guidance and overlook some parts. So right at the beginning and right at the end, check through that guidance and check you've ticked every single item on it, or every single item that is applicable to your proposed project. Sure. What makes a candidate and their project stand out to me is that clarity, is the very clear rationale for the project, why essentially you need to convince the panel that they should fund your project. So you should be thinking of writing to the panel, and you should be communicating your ideas to the panel, selling yourself in your project. And that doesn't mean overselling. Absolutely make sure that everything you say is justifiable, that you've got very good advice, you've searched the literature, you're very clear of the background evidence, and you know exactly what your proposed project will add to that existing evidence. And so clarity of writing is very important, and the importance of the topic area. So it's not just about finding a topic and a research question that you know is important. It's about then selling that. You will be writing to people who have no idea about your topic area, which might be ophthalmology or dental care or emergency care. It could be anything. And the people on the panel will not, they may be, but they're likely to not be experts in your area. So you need to explain things really clearly with appropriate references so that it's clear that you've searched the evidence. And as I said before, you need to be crystal clear about what you're doing and how it will add to the evidence base. So why should they fund it, essentially? So when we look at projects, we either formally or informally have a checklist. And the checklist is it's just like applying for a job. It's just like meeting the person specification. The checklist is going to really be matching the assessment criteria and the guidance that you have access to. There are no surprises. There's nothing else in there. It's a bit, as I said before, it's a bit formulaic. As an assessor, you've got your checklist, whether that's a formal one or an informal one. It's what's in the guidance. So as an applicant, if you stick closely to the guidance and really answer every question convincingly, that's what will give you the best chance of getting your fellowship funded. Yes, just thinking further about the project and projects with different methodologies. It's very important in your application, in your proposal, that you claim appropriately from the methods you've used. So if you want to produce evidence which is going to feed directly into guidance, then you are looking at doing a randomized control trial or something similar. That's very difficult to achieve in a fellowship. So you may be looking at a feasibility study to see if a randomized control trial or a definitive study of some other method is going to be feasible. And in that case, and in other methodologies, such as qualitative methodologies, it's absolutely crucial that you don't overclaim from what you do. So if you do, for instance, if you're proposing qualitative research, then qualitative research is not going to answer generalizable questions about populations. It can't do that. It can generate theory, which can inform further research. And if you put in your proposal that you're going to do focus groups with, I don't know, including 40 people or 30 people with whatever kind of stroke or whatever the condition is that you're interested in, and then you put in there, this will directly feed into evidence to inform care, it won't. And the reviewers will not be happy with that. It can feed into theory about how things work. It can inform theory about patients' experiences, which can then inform further research. But it's very important to make sure that your questions and your methods and what you're saying you will be finding out and disseminating and the impact you will have, these things match appropriately. I think more broadly, I would just say pay attention to every single part of the application form. And remember that it's being assessed on the project and the person and the environment. And one analogy I always use for people when they're preparing proposals is, if you think of doing the high jump, every single part of you has to get over that bar, otherwise the bar will fall. You can't have a trailing leg, wrist, any part, shoulder, any part of you. If there's one weakness, it's likely to go below the bar will fall and you won't get funded. So when I see applications, lots of times one part of it might be really good, whether that's the CV of the applicant or whether that's the project as described or whichever part. But every single part of each of those aspects needs to get at least over the bar and hopefully clear the bar with ease. So that's the thing I'd say. Somebody said to me, there can't be a chink in your application anywhere.